Hello there, good evening and welcome. Every second, events break across the body polity and in particular from the nation's federal capital. This is Abuja Dispatch, a platform that is specially created to bring to your living rooms those events and issues, and indeed those characters that have shaped the entire landscape of the nation's federal capital for the past 1 week. Adegboye Garogbodo is my name. Let's start off with those stories that made up our news headlines in the outgoing week.
President Muhammadu Buhari has urged ECOWAS authority heads of state and government to continue to work together in a pragmatic way to confront the numerous challenges facing the sub-region. President Buhari, who spoke at the opening ceremony of the 60th session of the ECOWAS Authority Heads of State and Government at the Presidential Villa Abuja, pointed out that West Africa continues to suffer from various challenges including socio-economic, political, security and environmental fragilities linked to the coronavirus pandemic. The president said the gathering of the leaders in Abuja is a clear demonstration of their commitment to the effective integration of the sub-region. The Federal Executive Council (FEC) has approved peculiar allowance for the police to take off from January 2022. The allowance will increase police personnel take-home pay by 20% of their present earning. The meeting, which was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the newly refurbished council chambers in the Aso Rock, also approved the review of police duty toll allowance to 6% and as well the release of 1.2 billion naira for the payment of uninsured benefits. Minister of Police Affairs Megare Dingyadi, who briefed correspondents after the council meeting, said the approval is in consonance of President Buhari's promise to enhance police personnel pay as demanded by the #EndSARS protesters. The Ghanaian High Commissioner to Nigeria, His Excellency Rashid Bawa, says his country has no intention to harass and embarrass Nigerian citizens coming into the country with regards to COVID-19 testing procedures. The Ghanaian envoy was speaking when he visited Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, Chairman, CEO, Nigeria in Diaspora Commission, NITCOM, in Abuja, against the backdrop of alleged maltreatment of a Nigerian who tested negative to COVID-19 in Dubai, only to test positive on arrival in Ghana. Mr. Rashid Bawa pointed out that while the COVID-19 polymerase chain reaction, the PCR test, is mandatory, Ghana will not maliciously produce COVID-19 positive test results for visitors, especially Nigerians visiting Ghana. And the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has charged police commanders to strengthen their leadership capacity in order to deal with crimes and criminality during this Yuletide. Usman gave the charge in Abuja during a meeting with strategic police commanders. Reviewing the achievements for the year, the IGP noted that concerted efforts were made to stabilize the nation's internal security, particularly in the southeastern region. He said the only way to meet their target is for commanders to strengthen their operational coordination and also identify unethical conduct for disciplinary measures.
Thanks for staying with us. A bill for an act to make provisions for the empowerment of women and also establish a legislative framework for gender equality more or less divided lawmakers when the bill was called for the second reading on the floor of the Nigerian Senate in the outgoing week. Gender equality and women empowerment. This forms the crux of our discourse tonight on this line. Stay with us.
Globally, women are key contributors in the development of any country. However, the issues of women exclusion and low participation in politics and decision-making have continued to generate attention worldwide. Though men and women are biologically and physiologically different, they both attain same educational qualifications, socio-economic status, and occupation, among others. Yet, women are unequally represented in some aspects of public life. For instance, in Nigeria, obnoxious social norms, political exclusion, and economic disparity dictate the presence and voice of women in public life.
We need financial empowerment. We need to be empowered politically. when women are given position of authority, they will excel. And the most important thing is, if a woman excels, the glory goes to the man. For example, I am a senator. I bear a name, not my father's name, is my husband's name. And so whatever I do that is positive, that is good, the glory goes to that name. And so when you empower one woman, you are empowering yourself as a man.
Holistically, to have sustainable plan in place, we must plan with women in mind. We must plan where we will remember that 70% of our population, they are women. Therefore, when you plan without them being part of that modular plan, you're just not planning holistically. And so, if you look at the simple analogy too, when you're working with just less than half of your body, you can't have full functionality of your body. So I think we're doing things that doesn't make sense and is of disservice to us as a nation.
Most of the parties are going into conventions. So as they're going to their conventions, they need to amend their constitutions. So we need to push. Like I said, we have to be extremely intentional. We have to push for the political parties. Most of us are in the national working committees of our political parties. So we need to go back to our national working committees, push for the for women issues to be brought to the forefront of our conventions.
According to the 2006 Nigerian population census figure, women constituted 49% of the total population. But there's been a gross gender gap between men and women, especially in political representation, economic management, and leadership. The top 5 challenges affecting women in Nigeria were found to be lack of financial empowerment, poverty, lack of access to quality education, gender inequality, and domestic violence. These challenges threaten the very existence of women, hinder their capabilities, and distract them from pursuing sustainable human development. Therefore, concerted efforts are imperative to mainstream inherent relevant gender issues.
The Ninth National Assembly needs to amend the Nigerian Constitution to include gender parity and to enact laws that will improve the lot of Nigerian girls and women. The Ninth National Assembly needs to challenge and change laws that infringe on women's rights. We all are aware that we passed the Police Act. It's in the National Assembly. The Police Act, there's a portion of the Police Act that says for a policewoman to get married, you need to take permission from the Commissioner of Police, which is not the same with the male folk. We need to work on that.
Women are those that are most heated. When you talk of the girl child, those are the ones facing harassment every day, rape cases every second. And yet we are shouting out, let there be a severer punishment for the foolish people that feel that a child of 2 months should be violated. Such should be put to death. We call for death sentence. It's not been approved. Nigerian politics, we all know, no mincing of words, is full of violence. Women are peace lovers. How do you expect a woman to carry gun or organize thugs to go out to canvass?
I believe that we need to have a very holistic plan that will include women from the onset. And that means that we must create first enabling environment, because women must be part of that plan for it to be holistic enough. 2, you must remember that a huge part of your population is being excluded in that planning. And again, it doesn't make sense.
According to the NOI polls, analysis and solutions to some economic issues showed that the top 3 recommendations include establishment of vocational training programs, 40%, provision of soft loans by government for women to start a business, 32%, and provision of more employment opportunities for women by the government, 17%. The relevant organs of government should also establish a legal department to focus mainly on advocating legislation against social and legal practices against women in Nigeria. Finally, the government, international organizations, partnership agencies, and non-governmental organizations should synergize and create policies and various socio-economic empowerment programs for women in Nigeria to remedy some of these challenges.
Welcome back. The federal government has consistently reiterated its intention to finance the national budget through the sales of some abandoned federal assets and properties across the country, which is put at 205 billion naira. Chairman House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee on the Investigation of Government Abandoned Properties says this decision of the federal government is long overdue. Stay with us. Welcome to Split View segment of our program Abuja Dispatch. And on Split View this week, we are having the pleasure of welcoming to our midst Honorable Ademorin Kuye, who happens to be House of Representatives member, representing Shomolu Federal Constituency, and Chairman Ad hoc Committee on the Investigation of Federal Government's Abandoned Properties, Assets and Projects. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Now, let's start with that committee. What is it all about?
Well, there was a motion brought to the floor of the House by Professor Julius from Edo State, based on the complaint and the outcry of Nigerians over the spate of federal government abandoned assets all over the country, particularly the Builders Associations of Nigeria, the Association of Surveyors in Nigeria equally brought the same complaint, saying that all of those assets that are littering the entire space of the country could be put to better use and bring revenue and money to the government. So the motion was moved and ably supported by all the members of the party of the House, and then a committee was set up, which by the magnanimity of the leadership of the House, I was made the chairman.
Now, so far, what have you found out? What have you seen? What have you, in your oversight functions as member of this committee?
As a chairman of this committee, and based on the little investigation we have done, because of course, unfortunately, just about the time we were going to start, going around the country, the lockdown came. But from the agencies and the ministries and the other parastatals that we have met with, and then the reports we have received, the revelation has been quite heart-boggling, mind-boggling. Because when we saw the number of properties of government that are just lying out there, some occupied by hoodlums, miscreants, some in the very state of disrepair, unused, some underused, some in wrong hands, some being illegally occupied. It's really mind-boggling.
Now, apart from his plan to engage in domestic and foreign borrowings to fund the 2020 budget, the federal government has confirmed that it will also, sell some government's own properties for the same purpose. Are we looking into a kind of engagement with your committee, or how have you seen this kind of perception from government?
Well, you see, the government have different sources of revenue to fund its budgets, and one of those sources is the sale of probably non-core assets. You are aware that the federal government, right from 2001, have been engaged in disposing some, unused assets, and then even public utilities that are not performing optimally have been sold. We have seen the privatization of PACN. But despite the privatization, there are non-core assets of PACN that were retained by the federal government, and they are now being, put up for sales. Particularly those residential estates of those ones have been put up for sale, and the House too, in its constitutional responsibility, are looking at those things that it's the sales are transparent. It's giving value for money. We're getting value for what we are giving out and all of that. So it's okay. It's okay to sell properties that are no more in use. Properties. Let me cite an example for you. If you go to a place called Ojo in Lagos, you will see a property owned by NSITF, National Social Investment Fund of Nigeria, that is there. Very mighty, very big building. It's been there lying down unused for over 20 years. So what are they keeping that kind of property for? Why not sell it and use the money to finance the infrastructural deficit that we have all been talking about? If you go to Kaduna, you see a lot of federal government assets that are just lying down there, not doing anything, occupied by miscreants. If you go to a place like Mushin, you will see a large expanse of land owned by NIPOST. What is NIPOST doing now? You can ask yourself that question. What are they doing now? And all those assets that they're just tying down, and their estates, many of their residential estates that are still being occupied by retired staff without paying anything to the government, retired staffs that they occupy. Some of them have even left, and their children are letting out those properties with nothing coming to the federal government. So if these kind of assets are put up for sale, why not? And some of these assets that we're talking about have been offered to retired staff of the same agencies. So people are getting opportunity to own houses instead of government now looking for money to build new houses. They can still buy those ones. And if they cannot buy, then the second option is given to the public to come and buy.
From your angle now, it's quite laudable and plausible. But you find that even some non-governmental agencies, organizations across the country are rising up, that the government should not sell these properties. What is their own perception? What's their fears?
You see, they are not distinguished. Maybe the government is not coming out clear, or the government is not giving out sufficient information to the public about the kind of assets they want to sell. Because, of course, people would not want them to sell critical assets that are servicing the people, in such a way that it becomes difficult for the public to afford the services of those, utilities. So the government must come out clear to say the kind of assets they want to sell, and then the public will understand and go along with them. I think that's basically what's needed here.
Now, find out that the federal government is to borrow quite a large chunk of money to finance it, and this issue of borrowing, is it really consistent with the growth that we're looking at as a country? How sustainable can the Nigerian government really be when we put into consideration the amounts of borrowing to finance the federal budget?
We have said this time and time again that there is no nation that does not borrow. But the most important thing is that if you're borrowing, make sure you're borrowing not for consumption, but for the development of infrastructures. Because if the economy of a nation must grow, then those infrastructures must be in place. All right? And up till last year, despite the borrowing level of these governments, Nigeria still remains the largest economy in Africa. What does that mean? It means that what we're borrowing, our economy is capable of servicing. So if that is the case, I have no problem with it, personally. If it is not for paying salaries, if it is not for consumption, generally, if it is to finance the critical infrastructures that will improve and increase the economy of the country, I'm in support of it. If it is to build standard, global standard hospital, I'm in support of it. If it is to build our transportation sector, I'm in support of it. If it is to build schools, you know, increase, because of course these are critical sectors that can bring in money. If you know the amount of money that is going into, you know, people going abroad for treatment and all of that, you'll be shocked. So if we can invest that kind of money, it will translate into a lot of income for the government.
Honorable Ademorin Kuye represents Shimolu Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives and is the chairman ad hoc committee on the investigation of federal government's abandoned properties, assets, and projects. Thank you for coming to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me. God bless you. Thank you. Have a glorious new year.
Without doubt, the occasion for which we have gathered here today is a clear demonstration of our resolute commitment to the effective integration of our sub-region. As a people, we aspire to create a borderless, peaceful, prosperous, and where people have the capacity to access and harness its resources through the creation of opportunities for sustainable development, job creation, and environmental preservation. Excellencies and dear colleagues, our sub-region continues to face socio-economic, political, security, and environmental fragilities linked to coronavirus pandemic. Our democracy is being challenged in Mali and Guinea. Furthermore, threats are looming around environmental degradation and climate change on our farming system. We are facing a network of criminals, including terrorism. All of these challenges require our collective action to work in concert with each other to pragmatically address and provide our people better prospects in life.
That is our package this week on Abuja Dispatch. For further information, comments, and suggestions, you can contact us at Lagos Television Abuja Bureau Office, number 78 Ralph Shoden Street, Central Business District, Abuja. Or better still, you can contact us on our various social media platforms. Thanks for joining us tonight on Abuja Dispatch. A week from now, we'll bring you another refreshing episode. Same time, same station. Adegboyega Arogbodo is my name. Bye for now.